Hey, welcome back to another Netcast. I'm Rich Lopez, Quantrix Authority. Sincerely appreciate you joining me today for episode number 93, Quantrix 6.0, Expression Filter and DataPush. This is brand new functionality added to 6.0, and it is fantastic. I used it today at my regular day job. I have here a matrix, and it has some codes, and some of them are applicable, and where they're applicable, I've gone ahead and I've assigned them a type using an awesome case statement. Okay. I want to be able to push these values out to SQL Server because I may use them in other models and I just want to pull it from SQL Server, as well as maybe I'll use it in other parts of my job. So again, SQL Server is where I want it to live. So what I would do is I go to Data, DataPush, Create DataPush, and then I go ahead and I say, well, I want to use this category as the data item category column. It has my data in it, and I click Next. I select my schema of DBO, and I'm going to put rich tester. Okay, then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to decide what columns I want to push. I really don't care about row, so I'm not going to include that. But these other three are what I want. Codes is going to be text. This will be an integer, and so on. I could change those if I wanted to and if I needed to. I go ahead and click Next, and then this is where it's awesome. It says set up the expression that will be used to filter the rows pushed to the database. So back in the day, you couldn't filter what data was pushed out to SQL Server. So if you had a boatload of maybe blanks or values that you just didn't want, you couldn't exclude them. You would have to push them all out, and maybe you would write a post push SQL statement that you could then execute, and that was kind of a workaround. But it's awesome that they've made it so that you can actually filter the results that you're pushing out. So in order to maybe filter the ones that I want to see, and those ones that I want to see all have a value and applicable, I would write an expression of is blank. That's just a function, and I would say is blank applicable. So if is blank applicable, it's only going to select those ones that are blank, but I don't want that. I want the ones that are not blank, so I'd say equals false. So if that's false, it's going to go ahead, and you can see automatically I can preview the data here in this little pane below, which is totally great. And so this is what I want. I go ahead and I click Next. I select the configuration I want, which is data repository, cost estimates, yada, yada, yada. And I click Next, and it will connect for me. Again, I could do some pre-push SQL or some post SQL here. And I want to overwrite the existing data. I click Finish and ask me if I want to execute it. I'll click Yes. What it says is here in my detail that this table doesn't exist, so I can run this schema, or this statement goes ahead and creates it. I get a little screen flicker for whatever reason. I click OK, and it says the data push succeeded. So now if I were to go out to SQL Server, I were to refresh this place where I pushed it and look for the table, I think it was called Rich Tester. If I were to select all the rows from that, or the top 1,000, which I believe there's less than 1,000, you would see that I get just those records. So that's 80 rows here. And if I were just to filter on this for filter, I were to filter everything but the empty cells, so select visible except for the empty, and then I were to go down here and I were to perform a count on this, it would be 80. And if I go back to SQL Server, I get 80 rows, as you could maybe see down here in the bottom. So anyway, that is absolutely fantastic. Again, data push, and then having a expression to filter out the data that I want to push. I hope you found that useful. It's a great functionality that they've added to 6.0. If you have any questions about Quantrix, feel free to reach out to me at quantrixauthority@gmail.com. Follow me, of course, here at YouTube. I love Quantrix. I want to make you a Quantrix master, so please join me again for another episode of Quantrix Authority with Rich Lopez.